The ambassador's final message. The galaxy was on edge. News of Earth's ambassador, James Brogan, spread like wildfire through the stars. His lifeless body had been discovered on the alien planet, Kalara 5, under mysterious circumstances. The once proud ambassador, a symbol of Earth's hope in the galactic community, was now a tragic casualty. But the worst part wasn't his death. It was the message he left behind. Brogan had always been known for his calm demeanor and diplomatic skill. He was the one who had helped broker peace deals, kept Earth's interests in check, and established trust with alien races across the galaxy. His work had made him a revered figure. But now, there was only silence, and the galaxy wanted answers. On the surface, Kalara 5 appeared peaceful, a beautiful, verdant world with towering cities and vast, shimmering lakes. But it was the capital, HFY Prime, where Brogan had died. Official reports stated that the ambassador had passed away in his sleep, peacefully and without signs of violence. But this didn't sit right with Earth's government. James Brogan had been on the brink of something major. He had been investigating something bigger than anyone had realized, something that, if uncovered, could shake the very foundations of galactic diplomacy. His death, so sudden and unexplained, didn't make sense. What had happened? Why was it covered up so quickly? And why hadn't any of the alien factions stepped forward to offer any explanation? Back on Earth, the government called for an immediate investigation. A special team of elite agents, led by Director Maria Keller, was assigned to uncover the truth. Their mission? To retrieve the last piece of communication from Brogan, the final message he had sent before his death. But that would prove to be easier said than done. The message was encrypted, locked behind layers of code and alien language. Even the most advanced AI systems on Earth struggled to make sense of it. But Maria Keller was no ordinary investigator. She had been part of Earth's intelligence community for over a decade, and she had seen things that would have broken most people. With her team of specialists, she began to work tirelessly on the encryption, each hour bringing them closer to the truth, but also further into a web of danger they were unprepared for. "I'm telling you, Director, this isn't just a simple encryption," said David Chen, a lead hacker on Keller's team. He was hunched over his console, sweat dripping from his forehead. "There's something else hidden inside. This isn't just a message, it's a warning." Maria looked over his shoulder, her expression hardening. "What kind of warning?" David paused, eyes wide. "I think Brogan found something. Something the galaxy didn't want him to find. Whoever killed him, they'd made sure we wouldn't get to the bottom of it." The urgency was growing. Earth's leaders were starting to panic. Without Brogan's findings, Earth might be on the verge of a war they weren't ready for. And the longer it took to decode the message, the more likely it was that the galaxy's other powers would take advantage of Earth's vulnerability. "The Exarathians are staying silent," said Agent Samir Patel, another member of Keller's team. "This doesn't look like an accident. We've dealt with them before. They're cunning. If they wanted to help, they would have done so by now." Maria nodded. The Exarathians, one of the most powerful and secretive races in the galaxy, were known for their manipulative ways. If they wanted to cover something up, they would do it quietly, without leaving a trace. The fact that they weren't responding to Earth's requests for answers was deeply unsettling. "Keep working on the message, David. We need to know what he found," Maria said. "And we need to do it fast." Hours passed, and the pressure mounted. The news of Brogan's death spread throughout Earth's media networks, and whispers began to circulate in the galactic community. Some factions, seeing Earth's moment of weakness, started to make moves, testing the waters for potential gains. But the greater threat remained hidden in the encrypted message, a warning from Brogan if they could decode it in time. At long last, David let out a sharp breath. "I've got it, Director. The last part of the message. It's a location, and something about a hidden alliance." Maria's eyes widened. A hidden alliance. Earth had its alliances, but these were with known powers. Nothing secret, nothing hidden. What had Brogan uncovered that was so dangerous? The coordinates point to a remote sector, far from any trade routes, David continued. But there's more. He mentioned a betrayal from within, and the true face of the enemy. Maria's heart sank. Betrayal. From within. Could it be that someone on Earth, someone they trusted, was behind Brogan's death? This is bigger than we thought, Maria muttered. Get ready. We're going to need to prepare for what's coming next. The truth was closer now, but with it came a terrifying realization. Brogan's death wasn't just the loss of one man. It was the start of something far darker, something that could change the course of the galaxy forever. As the message began to unfold, one thing became clear. Earth's war with the galaxy was no longer a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And the forces that had orchestrated the ambassador's death were already planning their next move, uncovering the truth. The atmosphere in the control room was tense, filled with quiet urgency. Director Maria Keller stood at the front, her hands clenched behind her back as she stared at the giant screen in front of her. On it were the decoded fragments of Ambassador Brogan's final message, flashing across with increasing speed. Each word, each sentence, seemed to add weight to the mystery of his death, and each piece revealed that Brogan had been digging into something far deeper than anyone had realized. Maria glanced at David Chin, who was hunched over his console, his face pale and strained from hours of decoding. The clock on the wall ticked, and with each passing second, the pressure mounted. They had been working nonstop, trying to put the pieces together. But the truth was elusive. How much further? Maria asked, her voice low but sharp. David ran a shaky hand through his hair, eyes glued to the screen. We've got about 90% of the message. But this last part, it's complicated. Whoever wrote this did it with a purpose. They didn't want us to find it. Maria's gaze hardened. The idea of someone deliberately hiding information from them, especially after the ambassador's death, was unsettling. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being led into a trap, but she couldn't stop now. Not when Earth's future was hanging in the balance. Samir Patel, standing near the entrance to the control room, stepped forward. Director, you need to see this. Maria turned, her instincts sharp. What is it? We found something, Samir said, his voice tight with concern. He pulled up a holographic projection from his device. The image that appeared on the screen was of an alien artifact, a strange, dark crystal pulsing with energy. Brogan mentioned this artifact in his last communication, but he never explained what it was. Maria's eyes narrowed. What does it do? That's the problem, Samir replied. It's part of an ancient alien technology, and if Brogan's right, it's connected to a network of powerful factions that have been quietly manipulating galactic politics for centuries. The realization hit her like a cold wave. This wasn't just about a murder. This was a warning from Brogan, one of the few men who knew how far this conspiracy went. His death hadn't been random. It had been a message. Someone didn't want them to uncover the truth. The lights in the room flickered, and a new message appeared on the screen. A distress signal from one of Brogan's old contacts. It was an encrypted transmission, but the source was unmistakable. An isolated outpost on the fringe of the galaxy. Where is this? Maria asked, studying the coordinates on the map. Samir tapped a few keys, pulling up the location. It's near the edge of the Scar sector. No one's been there for years. It's a dead zone. No trade routes, no known alien presence. Maria's mind raced. The Scar sector was a place known for being off-limits. The Galactic Council had warned against exploring it due to its dangerous conditions and strange phenomena. But Brogan's contact had risked sending a message from there. Whatever was happening in that sector could be the key to everything. We need to go there, Maria said, a decision forming in her mind. David turned from his console, finally showing signs of exhaustion. You really think we'll find answers in a dead zone? It's a trap, Maria. We don't even know what we're walking into. Maria's eyes locked onto his. It's the only lead we have. Brogan trusted this contact enough to send the final part of the message. If we want answers, we go where he pointed. There was no time to waste. The more they delayed, the more ground the enemy could gain. The galaxy was on the brink of war, and Earth's position was weaker with each passing day. Maria knew that, once they set foot in the Scar sector, they would be entering hostile territory, but it was the only way forward. With a single command, Maria authorized a fleet to be assembled. In the next 24 hours, they would set course for the Scar sector, ready to uncover the truth that Brogan had died trying to reveal. Later, aboard the ship, the tension on the ship was palpable as it moved closer to the Scar sector. The crew was nervous. Everyone had heard the rumors about this part of space. It was a place where ships disappeared, where strange phenomena occurred without warning. And now they were going straight into the heart of it. Maria stood at the bridge, her arms crossed, staring out at the stars. She didn't show it, but she, too, was feeling the weight of what was ahead. Every choice she made could determine the future of Earth and the galaxy itself. "We'll be arriving in the Scar sector in 30 minutes, Samir reported, breaking the silence. "We're receiving heavy interference. Communications are going to be spotty." Maria nodded, her mind working through every possible scenario. The mission could be dangerous, and the risk was high. But she couldn't turn back now. Suddenly, the ship's sensors went haywire. The instruments beeped urgently, and the ship lurched as if something massive had brushed past them. The crew scrambled, trying to assess what was happening. "Report," Maria demanded, her voice cold and authoritative. "We're not alone," the officer at the sensor station said. "There's something out there. It's not registering as any known ship or phenomenon." The room fell silent. Something was out there, and it was watching them. The silent conspiracy. The crew sat in silence as the ship glided deeper into the Scar sector. The stars outside appeared faint, distant, as if they, too, were afraid of what lay ahead. The last message from Brogan had been clear. Something huge was happening here, and if they didn't act fast, Earth might never know the full truth. Director Maria Keller stood at the command center, eyes focused on the view screen. She wasn't sure what to expect when they reached the coordinates. A hidden alien alliance, a deadly weapon, or maybe even something far more dangerous. Whatever it was, Brogan had given his life to uncover it. That alone was enough to send chills down her spine. "Status?" Maria asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was calm, but she could feel the tension in her chest. "We're almost there," Samir Patel replied, his face tense as he monitored the ship's systems. "Sensors are picking up a lot of interference. We can't get an exact reading yet, but something's out there. Whatever it is, it's massive." David Chen, the lead hacker, looked up from his station. "I've been monitoring communications from the sector. There's almost nothing. No ships passing through, no signals from other stations. It's like a dead zone, just like they said. But there's something odd about it. No one's talking. No one's acknowledging this part of space." Maria's mind raced. It didn't add up. The Scar sector had been cut off from galactic communication for years, but for something that large to exist in silence, hidden from the rest of the galaxy. That was something else entirely. Why would no one talk about it? She muttered. "What are they hiding?" Before anyone could answer, the ship jolted violently. The entire crew was thrown forward, their bodies slamming against their seats. The lights flickered as alarms blared through the ship. Something had struck them. "Report," Maria shouted, struggling to regain her balance. "We've been hit," the officer at the control station yelled, panic in his voice. It came from nowhere. "We didn't see it coming. Our shields are holding, but..." The ship rocked again, harder this time. The warning lights flashed red, and the sound of metal groaning filled the air. "Get us out of here," Maria ordered. "Samir, can you find the source?" "I'm trying." Samir snapped, his fingers flying over the controls. I can't get a lock on it. The interference is too strong. We need to move. Now. Do it, Maria said. David, is the message still active? Can we track Brogan's coordinates? David worked quickly, his face tight with concentration. I'm still on it. Yes, the coordinates are holding. The transmission is still active, but something's wrong with the data. It's corrupted. Maria's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean corrupted? She demanded. I don't know. The signal. It's shifting. Like it's being redirected. Someone is interfering with it. Maria clenched her fists. Whoever was behind this, they knew they were coming. The ambassador had uncovered something powerful, and whoever wanted to keep it hidden wasn't playing games. Suddenly, the ship shook again, this time with an overwhelming force. It sent a wave of panic through the crew. Maria could feel the fear spreading like wildfire, but there was no turning back. She had come too far to retreat now. We need to find the source of this attack. Samir, keep trying to trace those coordinates. David, fix the message. Whatever happens, we need to stay on course. The crew scrambled to obey her orders, though fear hung in the air. Every second brought them closer to the heart of the mystery. Who was behind this attack? And why did they want to stop them from uncovering Brogan's final secrets? Later, aboard the ship, hours passed in tense silence. The ship's damage had been minimal, thanks to its advanced shielding, but the crew had no idea what or who had fired on them. There had been no sign of the attacker, no ships, no warning, just the sudden violent impact. Maria stood at the observation window, her mind spinning. The galaxy had always been a place of secrets, but this was something else entirely. The ambassador's death had been the first clue. The encrypted message had been the second. And now, this. Someone was actively trying to cover up something important. We're getting closer, Samir reported, his voice tight. I've isolated the source of the interference. It's a station, hidden within a cloaking field. I'm patching in a signal, but it's weak. Let's go, Maria said, determination in her voice. Prepare to drop out of warp. The crew braced themselves as the ship dropped back into real space, and before them appeared the hidden station. It was massive, dwarfed by the stars around it. It wasn't just any station, though. It was a fortress, camouflaged perfectly within the vast emptiness of the Scar sector. As the ship approached, the station's dark silhouette grew clearer. Its strange, angular structure was unlike anything Earth had encountered. It wasn't alien, not exactly, but it wasn't human either. The design was something far more ancient. It felt old, too old. Maria knew they were on the brink of something unimaginable. They were standing on the edge of a galactic conspiracy, one that could rewrite the entire balance of power. But why had Brogan been murdered for discovering this place? What was so dangerous that the galaxy's most powerful factions would go to such lengths to keep it hidden? The answers lay ahead, but getting to them wouldn't be easy. Inside the station, as the crew prepared to board the station, the atmosphere on the ship was thick with uncertainty. Maria could sense it too. This was no longer just a simple mission to investigate a death. It was a war. The conspiracy was real, and if they didn't act fast, it could tear the galaxy apart. David was the first to break the silence. We're going in. This is it. The truth. Maria nodded, a final, determined look in her eyes. We're going to find out what Brogan died for, and we're going to make sure the galaxy never forgets it. The Hidden Alliance. The ship's engines hummed quietly as it approached the dark station. The crew stood in silence, their eyes glued to the view screen. The station loomed before them, an ancient fortress hidden in the farthest reaches of the Scar sector. It looked abandoned, but Maria knew better. Something, or someone, was waiting for them. Ready to board? Maria asked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. She was doing her best to keep her nerves in check, but inside, she could feel the weight of the mission. Every decision they made from here on out could lead to Earth's future or its destruction. "Ready, Director?" Samir Patil answered, his voice tight with determination. He had been working non-stop, trying to navigate through the interference, but now it seemed their journey had brought them to a new chapter. "We'll need to be careful. This station may not be abandoned after all." Maria gave a quick nod. "We'll stay in contact. No one goes in alone." The air was thick with tension as the crew suited up for the mission. There was no turning back now. They were entering unknown territory, literally and figuratively. Inside the hidden station, as the airlock sealed behind them, the crew entered the station. The eerie quietness was almost suffocating. They moved through dark, cold corridors, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. There was a strange, unsettling feeling in the air. Everything felt wrong, like they were being watched, but by no one they could see. "Keep your eyes open," Maria said, her voice barely a whisper. "This place is older than any of us. Stay alert." The corridors stretched endlessly in front of them, twisting and turning in a way that made it feel as if they were walking in circles. Maria's mind raced. The messages Bragan had sent had been so cryptic, but now it was clear he had discovered something here, something big. As they moved deeper into the station, they reached a central chamber. It was larger than any part of the station they had passed through. It was filled with strange, glowing symbols etched into the walls. The air was thick with an unnatural hum, and the temperature had dropped significantly. This was where Bragan had been. This was where he had found something that had cost him his life. "There it is," David Chen said, breaking the silence. He pointed to a central console covered in dust and debris. The markings on the console were alien, but familiar at the same time. They resembled the symbols Bragan had described in his message. Maria stepped forward, her breath visible in the cold air. "What is this?" David began typing quickly on the console, his fingers moving with urgency. "It's a language I've never seen before, but I think I can break the code." This place was built by an ancient civilization, one that even the Galactic Council knows nothing about. Maria felt a chill run down her spine. "What does that mean for us?" "It means," David continued, his voice steady despite the growing sense of dread, "that someone out there has been hiding this from the rest of the galaxy. This station was never meant to be found. Whoever set it up wanted to keep this secret buried. And Bragan found it." The team stood in stunned silence as David's fingers moved faster over the console. The glowing symbols began to shift and change, forming words they could understand. Maria leaned closer. "What is it saying?" David's eyes widened as he decoded the message. It's an alliance, an ancient alliance formed long before the Galactic Council. These species have been secretly controlling the galaxy's power from the shadows. And it gets worse. He paused, letting the gravity of the words sink in. The room seemed to grow colder as he continued. "This alliance is still active. They've been manipulating events on a galactic scale, and they've been hiding in plain sight. They control everything." Maria's heart skipped a beat. How is that possible? How have we never known about them? "Because they're everywhere," David said quietly. "They've embedded themselves into every major race, human, alien, everyone. They've been manipulating trade routes, political decisions, everything. They were the ones who caused Brogan's death, and they'll do anything to keep their existence hidden." The truth hit Maria like a punch to the gut. The stakes were higher than she had imagined. Earth wasn't just at risk. It was at the mercy of a shadowy ancient force that had been pulling the strings for centuries. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A loud mechanical screech echoed through the station as alarms began blaring. The ground trembled beneath their feet. "They found us," Samir said, his voice shaking. "We're not alone." The crew scrambled into position as the doors to the central chamber slammed shut. The station was alive with activity now, and it wasn't friendly. Something was coming for them. Back on the ship, Outside, the ship's crew watched in horror as the station's cloaking field flickered on, and their sensors began to detect large movement patterns. Something, multiple somethings, was approaching. "Director, we've got incoming," the officer at the command station shouted. The station just activated its defense systems. Maria's heart raced. "We have to get out of here. Now. We need to bring them back." Inside the station, the crew was trapped. As they moved to the exit, the station's security systems had fully activated. Automated drones and weapons systems began targeting them, closing off their escape route. The team fought back with everything they had, but they were outmatched. The station was ancient, designed for defense, and the crew was still reeling from the shock of what they had discovered. "We can't hold them off for long," David shouted, trying to hack into the station's systems to shut down the defense mechanisms. But it was like trying to break through a wall of solid metal. This place wasn't meant for anyone to get in. They're too advanced. Maria was focused, her mind working quickly as she assessed their options. They had discovered the truth, but now they had to survive. "We need to get back to the ship. We're not leaving without Brogan's data." The escape. In the chaos of the battle, with alarms blaring and the station shaking from the impact of the defense systems, the team made a final run for the exit. They had their message from Brogan. But they knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The truth about the Ancient Alliance was now out, but they were not alone. Whoever controlled the station, and the galaxy, was watching them. And they had no intention of letting Earth's crew leave with the secrets they had uncovered. As the team ran toward the airlock, Maria's heart pounded. The truth was too dangerous, too powerful to be exposed. But they had no choice. They had to fight back. Earth's future depended on it. The war that was never meant to be. The airlock slammed shut behind them with a deafening thud, sealing the crew inside the ship. But the danger was far from over. The station's automated defense systems had almost wiped them out, and as the ship's engines roared to life, Maria could feel the tension in her chest tighten. They had barely escaped with their lives, but they had what they came for. The truth. Status report. Maria barked, her voice sharp with urgency. The ship was already maneuvering away from the station, but she knew the threat wasn't over yet. They had uncovered something no one was supposed to know, an ancient alliance manipulating the galaxy's power. And now, the galaxy was about to change forever. "Shields are holding," Samir Patel replied, sweat trickling down his face. "But they've activated some kind of tracking system. They know we're leaving." David Chen's voice came through from the back. "I've decrypted the data we found in the station's mainframe. It's worse than we thought. The Alliance isn't just controlling the galaxy from the shadows. They've been planning something huge." Maria turned to face him, her eyes wide. "What do you mean?" David swallowed hard, his eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. "They're preparing for war. The Alliance has been building up forces in secret. This isn't just about power. They've been manipulating every major race, every government. And now, they're ready to strike." A heavy silence fell over the crew. The reality of what they had uncovered was starting to sink in. The very fabric of the galaxy was about to tear apart. The war that the Alliance had been quietly orchestrating was no longer a distant possibility. It was happening now. "Can we stop it?" Maria asked, her voice low. David hesitated, his fingers nervously tapping on the console. "It's not going to be easy. We'll need to expose their entire operation. If we can do that, we might be able to stop the war. But they have resources, more than we can handle. They'll come after us." Maria knew what had to be done. The crew had already risked everything to uncover the truth. They couldn't back down now. But the stakes had risen to a new level. This was no longer about uncovering a conspiracy. It was about saving the galaxy from a war that could destroy everything they knew. "Prepare the ship for full speed," Maria commanded. "We need to get back to Earth. We'll make contact with the Galactic Council. We need allies, and we need them fast." Back on Earth, as the crew made their way through the vast reaches of space, the journey back to Earth felt like an eternity. The days blended together in a blur of calculations, repairs, and constant vigilance. Every sensor was active, every crew member on edge. They were being hunted. The Ancient Alliance wasn't just waiting. They were actively searching for them. When Earth's distant blue planet finally came into view, the crew couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They had made it. But the relief was fleeting. The real battle was just beginning. "Earth's just ahead," Samir said, his voice grim. "But there's something wrong." Maria looked out the observation window. The peaceful planet she had once known was now surrounded by a strange, unnatural silence. There were no ships in orbit, no signals. It was like Earth had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy. "Where is everyone?" David muttered, his fingers flying over the ship's controls. "I'm not seeing any active military ships. No traffic. No communication." Maria's heart skipped a beat. They've already taken Earth. The Alliance has moved in. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Earth, the very heart of humanity, had already been compromised. The Alliance had acted quickly, and now their home planet was in the grip of forces far more powerful than anything Earth could ever hope to defend against. "What do we do now?" Samir asked, his voice cracking with fear. Maria clenched her fists, trying to keep her composure. The odds were stacked against them, but they couldn't give up, not when the entire galaxy was on the line. "We fight back. We don't let them take this world without a fight." The crew rallied around her, their resolve hardening. They were Earth's last hope, and they would stop at nothing to expose the truth and prevent the war from consuming everything. In the shadows, the Alliance had already infiltrated Earth's defenses, but they were waiting. They always waited. This war was never meant to be a quick conquest. The Alliance had planned this for centuries, and now they were about to see it all unfold. Far beneath the surface of Earth, hidden in the dark, underground chambers of a secret facility, leaders of the Alliance were discussing their next move. Their plans were nearly complete, and they knew it was only a matter of time before Earth's resistance would be crushed. They had engineered everything to perfection. Every move, every alliance, every battle. And now, with Earth's forces scattered and in disarray, their time had come. Back on the ship, "We need to get to the Council," Maria said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "They need to know what's coming. We have proof now, and we can stop them. But we have to act fast." Samir was working feverishly on the ship's controls. "I'm picking up a signal," he said, his voice filled with a mix of hope and disbelief. "It's a distress call. From Earth." Maria turned quickly. "What? Who is it?" It's coming from the Galactic Council's headquarters." Maria's heart skipped a beat. "The Council? Are they under attack?" "No," Samir said, shaking his head. "It's a warning. They know about the Alliance. They've been infiltrated. The Council is compromised." The shock hit her hard. The Alliance had already infiltrated the highest levels of the Galactic Council. They were everywhere. The final countdown. The galaxy was on the brink of destruction. Earth's resistance had just begun, but time was running out. The Alliance's war machine was already in motion, and soon they would have the power to take control of everything. But Maria and her crew weren't done yet. They still had the truth on their side, and they would use it to expose the Alliance and stop the war from reaching its devastating conclusion. As the ship sped toward the heart of the galaxy, the crew braced themselves for the fight of their lives. The fate of humanity and the entire galaxy was in their hands. The war unleashed. The ship raced through space, the engines roaring as it pushed further into the unknown. The crew sat in tense silence, eyes glued to their monitors, each of them acutely aware that they were racing against time. Their mission was now more urgent than ever. Earth was in danger. The Galactic Council was compromised. And the Alliance, an ancient, shadowy force, was on the brink of unleashing a war that could wipe out everything. "We're close," Maria said, her voice calm despite the storm of emotions inside her. She stood at the front of the ship, watching the stars blur past them as they neared the center of the galaxy. Samir Patel was at the controls, his brow furrowed with worry. "We've been picking up strange signals from the Council's headquarters," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "It's like they know we're coming. And every signal, every communication is being jammed. We're not getting through." Maria clenched her fists. The Alliance had anticipated their every move. It was clear now. They weren't just a shadow force. They had eyes everywhere, manipulating events from the shadows. Earth had been the first target, but now the whole galaxy was at risk. "Don't stop trying, Samir," she said firmly. "We need to reach the Council. We can't let them fall. If we don't get there soon, it'll be too late." The crew nodded in unison, each of them knowing the enormity of the task ahead. They had been given one last chance to expose the truth, but the clock was ticking. At the Galactic Council, the council chambers were a grand hall, filled with representatives from every major race in the galaxy. But the room was far from peaceful. Tension hung in the air, and there was a sense of unease among the council members. The ancient alliance, which had been lurking in the shadows for centuries, was moving in the open. And now, they were ready for war. "We can't keep denying it," said Councillor Shira, her voice heavy with concern. "The Alliance has been pulling the strings. The unrest in every sector, the uprisings, the sabotage, everything has been orchestrated by them, and we were too blind to see it." "But we're too late," Councillor Kaur said, his voice gruff. "They've already infiltrated our highest ranks. There's no stopping them now. Our forces are scattered, and our communications have been compromised." "Not yet," Maria's voice suddenly crackled over the comm system. "You still have a chance. We're coming to you." The councillors turned sharply at the sound of the familiar voice. It was Maria, the leader of Earth's crew. The ones who had uncovered the hidden truth about the Alliance. And somehow, against all odds, she was still alive. On board the ship. Finally, Samir exclaimed, his fingers flying over the controls. "I'm getting through. The Council's broadcast network is up, but barely. They're under heavy attack, but they're still operational. We can warn them." Maria's heart raced. "Good. Now let's make sure they hear us." She moved quickly to the comm station and activated the channel, her voice strong and clear. "Council, this is Maria from Earth's Special Operations Team. We have the information you need. The Alliance is not just planning a war. They're already in control. They've infiltrated every government, every major faction, and they're preparing to make their move. You need to act now, or the galaxy will fall." The transmission went silent for a moment, and then a voice responded, a voice filled with disbelief, but also hope. It was Councillor Tashira. "Maria, you're telling the truth?" she asked, her tone shaky but filled with urgency. "The Alliance has done all this. I never thought it was possible. How do we stop them?" Maria took a deep breath, trying to steady her own nerves. "We need to expose them. Everything we found. It's all in the data we recovered. They've been hiding their operations under layers of deception. But if we can break through their security, we might be able to turn the tide. The galaxy's only chance is to unite against them. But we need to act fast." "We'll prepare our forces," Councillor Tashira said. "But Maria, you must hurry. We've already lost control of several key systems. The Alliance's war machines are moving faster than we anticipated. The moment you arrive here, you'll be facing not just their spies, but their full military force." Maria's grip tightened on the console. The stakes had just escalated even further. They weren't just racing against time to expose the truth. They were now the target of the Alliance's deadly reach. "We're on our way," Maria said firmly. "Don't lose hope." The galactic battle begins. As the ship neared the Council's headquarters, the space around them grew increasingly dangerous. Hundreds of ships, both human and alien, were caught in the midst of a chaotic battle. Explosions erupted as fleets clashed in space. The Alliance's warships, sleek and terrifying, moved with precision, cutting through enemy lines with deadly force. "We're entering hostile space," Semir said, his voice grim. "There's no way around it. We're going to have to fight our way in." Maria nodded. The crew was ready. They'd trained for this. It wasn't just about delivering the information anymore. It was about survival. And they had no choice but to fight. The Alliance was already preparing for its final strike, and they had to stop it. "Everyone, to battle stations," Maria commanded. "We're going in." Inside the Council's stronghold, as Maria's ship entered the space surrounding the Council's headquarters, the battle raged on. The once thriving hub of intergalactic politics was now under siege, with debris floating in the vacuum and alarms blaring throughout the station. "We're almost there," Semir called out. "But we're not alone. The Alliance has already sent their forces. We need to break through their blockade." Maria stood tall, facing her crew. The uncertainty of the situation loomed over them, but she refused to let fear take hold. They had come too far to back down now. "Let's move quickly," she said. "We don't have much time. If we don't stop them here, it's over for everyone." A final gamble. The crew fought through the chaos, their ship swerving to avoid enemy fire as they made their way toward the heart of the Council's base. They were outnumbered, but their resolve was unshakable. As they reached the entrance, Maria's heart pounded. They had a final chance to expose the truth and stop the Alliance before it was too late. But would it be enough? With one last breath, Maria led her crew into the Council's command center, where their future and the future of the galaxy would be decided. The final stand. The tension in the control room was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity as Maria's ship sped towards the heart of the Galactic Council's stronghold. The battle raged around them, and every time they made a move, enemy ships appeared, cutting off their escape routes. But they were determined. This was their last chance to stop the Alliance, to expose the truth, and to save the galaxy from the destruction they had planned. "Target locked," Semir shouted from the console. His fingers flew across the controls as he evaded another round of fire from the Alliance's warships. "We're entering the final sector, but they're closing in. We got maybe 5 minutes before they reach us." Maria didn't hesitate. She stood tall, her mind sharp despite the pressure. "We hold them off. We get to the Council, and we do this together. No turning back." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of her crew. Semir, David, Lena, and the rest of the team were ready. There was no fear in their eyes, only determination. The stakes had never been higher. If they failed, the Alliance would take control of the galaxy. If they succeeded, they would give humanity and all the galaxy's races one last hope. "Battle stations," Maria ordered, her voice strong. "We'll fight to the last man if we have to. We don't stop until we deliver the message." Outside the Council's stronghold, the chaos of the battlefield intensified as enemy ships surrounded the Council's headquarters. The Alliance had mobilized its most powerful forces. The sleek, deadly warships hovered like predators, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Maria's ship was now among them, caught in the storm of laser blasts and explosive debris. They couldn't afford to stop or slow down, not even for a second. "We've got incoming," Lena reported, her voice tense. "At least a dozen ships, large ones, heading straight for us." Maria gritted her teeth. She knew there was no turning back now. They had to reach the Council. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Semir, get us through." "We'll make it," Semir said, determination in his voice. He spun the controls, sending the ship into a series of sharp, sudden turns, dodging enemy fire as best as he could. But the odds were overwhelming. Inside the Council's command center, the Council members were already on high alert. The Alliance's forces had reached the outer defenses, and they were just waiting for the final push. Most of the council members were in a state of panic, unsure if they had enough resources to survive the onslaught. Shira, the senior counselor, stood at the head of the room, pacing in distress. "How long before they break through?" she demanded, her voice strained. "We don't know," replied one of the analysts. "Our shields are weakening. The Alliance is relentless. If we don't act now, we'll be overrun in minutes." Shira's eyes darkened as she glanced at the transmission feed. The message from Maria and her team had just come in. The Alliance was already inside their defense perimeter, and if the crew of Earth's ship didn't make it to them in time, the galaxy would be lost. There was no room for hesitation. "We'll hold them off as long as we can," Shira said firmly. "But the truth must be exposed, or everything we fought for will be for nothing." On board Maria's ship, the crew was working in perfect unison as they fought their way through the blockade. Enemy ships came at them from every angle, but Maria's team was skilled, using every tool at their disposal to break through. "We're almost there," Samir called out, sweat dripping down his face. "Just a few more clicks, and we'll be inside the Council's defense shields. I can't promise we won't take some damage." "Just do it," Maria said, her voice unwavering. "We don't have a choice. The galaxy doesn't have a choice." As Samir pushed the engines to their limits, the ship was rocked by another blast. This time, the impact was harder, shaking the entire crew. They all struggled to stay on their feet, but they had no time to waste. "Brace for impact," David shouted, his hands gripping the side of the console. The ship lurched again, but they were close now. The defensive shields around the Council's stronghold loomed large on their sensors. They could see the bright flashes of battle just outside the force field. "We're in," Samir said, his voice filled with relief. "We made it. The shields are down. We can dock." Maria exhaled, knowing that they had made it past the hardest part. But the real battle was still ahead. Inside the Council's stronghold, the Alliance's agents could be anywhere, waiting for them. Inside the Galactic Council's stronghold, the corridors of the Council's command center were dimly lit, with the faint hum of the emergency lights echoing throughout the station. Shira stood at the entrance to the meeting hall, waiting for Maria's team to arrive. Moments later, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed, and Maria's crew appeared through the entrance. They were battered and bruised, but alive. Maria didn't hesitate. She marched forward, determination in her every step. "We need to expose everything," Maria said, looking at Shira. "The Alliance isn't just attacking us. They've been infiltrating every system, every race, and every government. This war has been planned for centuries, but we can still stop them. We have the evidence." Shira nodded. "We have one shot at this. If we fail, it's all over." Maria glanced at her team. They had already done the impossible, fighting their way through space, battling enemies, and surviving against all odds. But now, they had to do one final thing. They had to get the information to the right people, to the galaxy's leaders, before it was too late. The final battle. As they made their way deeper into the Council's stronghold, the tension rose. Every corner could hide an enemy, every hallway could be a trap. The crew's weapons were ready, their senses on high alert. They reached the central chamber, where the fate of the galaxy would be decided. The council members stood ready, but as the doors opened, it became clear that the Alliance had anticipated this move. Blasters fired, and the air was thick with smoke and sparks as the Alliance's soldiers poured into the room. A battle broke out, a fight for the future of the galaxy. Maria's heart raced as she ordered her crew to push forward. They were here to expose the truth, to stop the Alliance's war machine, and they would do whatever it took to succeed.